So we were writing an opinion piece, which I was really raring to go because it's brand new to our grade level. And I kind of wanted to meld it with the friendly letter because we do friendly letters quite often in our class, which is sort of an opinion piece. As you can see by the samples that I gave you, every week the kids have a star of the week, and they write a letter to them. And it's in Spanish because it's bilingual. But these are the books that I make with all the letters that their classmates write to the students, and they get them at the end of the year. And so it's a kind of practice, and it's really interesting. The kids that at the beginning of the year, their letters aren't quite as developed as at the end of the year, but it kind of gets them used to the format, and that gets that out of the way. They review from second grade. And then we have a little story called The Friendly Wolf and the Big Bad Wolf and the Friendly Letter. I read that story. We go over the parts of the friendly letter, the salutation, the greeting, the body, the closing, and the signature. Yes, they have to do all the body. TPR, total physical. Every time we're going to write a letter, somebody gets up and reminds us of the parts of the letter. So make sure they're getting all that language. It's in Spanish, and then we do it in English as we get closer to the end of the year. So that was the standard we were covering. And in order, after we'd done a bunch of those letters, I decided to read this letter, this book to my students. It doesn't have to be this way. And one of the reasons that we chose this is because at our school we've had multiple cases, multiple times when some student's family member is involved in some violence, gang violence, or we had a shooting just last year where one of our students' older brothers was shot because of some gang violence. So this story goes into that. It's a story of a little boy, and it's bilingual, which is wonderful for me because this year I have 2 students that are all Spanish. So when I did this, it was back in, it was before we did last time, or right before, before we met last time. They didn't have that English, so as I was reading the story, and I use my overhead projector, just like this when I read to them, I would read it in English, but then those students could be saying the words in Spanish, and sometimes I do a quick summary in Spanish of what it was. So it's about a little boy called Ramon, and in his neighborhood, there's his friend Clever, and then his cousin Dreamer. And Clever is in a gang, and he talks Ramon into joining the gang. And he has to get beat into it where they do the 1 minute, everybody beats up on him. And he gets beat into the game, and he starts acting very differently. He starts dressing and stealing and making all these bad choices. And his cousin Dreamer, who used to be in the gang, but she got out, tries to talk him out of it. So we talked about how she's giving him advice. She's an upstander. She's standing up because she goes to Clever and tells him, Ramon shouldn't be part of this. So one day she's over there, they realize they're going to steal a car or something's going on. She goes in and she's talking to Ramon, and the drive-by shooting occurs and she gets shot. And that's kind of Ramon's wake-up call. He realizes that he doesn't want to be part of this lifestyle anymore. And Dreamer's okay.
Thanks, thank you for that.
But then, yes, Ramon realizes that this is not the choice he wants to make. So we read that story, and then we have lots of discussions about it, not only about how it affected them, but in our school we do a lot of character education because of all these situations that we've been in. And we have a workshop, Soul Shop it's called, and they come in and they did this whole workshop with the whole school about how to be an ally, which is basically an upstander. And what do they say? We don't do that at our school, please stop, do you need a friend, how can we help you? And what do? They stand up for each other, they include someone, and they help. So we acted out scenarios, and this is part of our weekly meetings that we do at our school. The kids get, besides going to the workshop, they get these little bookmarks that remind them of all that they've learned at the workshop. So we had that common language at the school. So even though it was an upstander, but I used ally, aliado. We used different language, but it's the same thing. So we had that common language. And then we also decided to summarize the story because I wanted to get them used to organizing their writing, making sure that they had that topic sentence. They had those details because part of the standard here They have to produce simple, compound, and complex sentences, way down there. But also they have to be, the Common Core, the speaking and listening standards, which are really important in my classroom because we do a lot of pair share. They have to practice that English, especially their English. They have to do those discussions. So not only in the Common Core, but also in the new ELD standards, the collaboration ones. The collaborations is they have to exchange information, ideas with others, offer and support opinions and negotiate with others, and adapt their language choices to various contexts based on the purpose. So after we had talked about allies, what is an ally, what is an upstander, talked about this book, discussed this book, summarized this book, they had to write a letter. Lots of discussion, a lot of talking, especially for those students, like I said, this is the first year in a long time that I've had students that are brand new. Usually they've come to us from kinder and they've, even those long-term English language learners, their oral skills are much better than their writing or their reading. Mm-hmm. So this was brand new. We had to get them a little bit up to pace there. But then they have to write letters to one of the characters. And my prompt was, is up there, write a letter to the Ramon, clever, or dreamer about their choices, and if necessary, offer advice on how to be an ally. And the criteria I was looking at, I wanted it to be a letter with the 5 parts which we discussed. I wanted sentence diversity, and I wanted command of standard English conventions and peer collaboration. They had to discuss, they had to do some peer editing, and they had to do some peer sharing. So the 2 pieces of work that I gave you here are from 2 students. Let's look at Brian's first. And it's pretty good, I think. Dear Clever, why are you so bad, and can't you be nice sometimes? So why can't you just leave the game? Clever, you don't need the game. You could handle it without them. Why do you hit people for 1 whole minute? Mm-hmm. Just let them in. So Clever is the boy that's already in the game.
Right.
He's not the one that's about to be initiated in the game. He's already been in the game. He's so I don't think that he wanted so much to get him out of the gang's lifestyle. It's like, make it easy on the new kids. Yeah.
I do like the sentence though, you don't need the gang, you could handle it without them.
Mm-hmm.
So wondering what in the story they talked about, like how does the gang, why do you need the gang, why do you need that, for him to say that you could handle it without them.
Right.
So he did connect to the story, he did make those connections, and that is the beginning of evidence,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that he could have developed that a little bit more to say what he could handle or who outside of the gang could help him handle that.
Right.
And looking at those other resources and other community members that are available, but definitely he's got that place where you could have that conversation and say, here's where we could start.
Mm-hmm.
Reading this last sentence, it still may be an argument against the gang.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's saying it could be that he's saying, if the gang is so great, why do they beat people for a minute? Why don't they just let them in?
Right.
Like you don't need them. You can handle it without them. They beat people for a minute.
Right.
Well, then it would loop back to the beginning, if that's the case, if that is the argument.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you so bad?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so does a group have to be bad?
Mm-hmm.
Be interesting to see if the kid said we were over-interpreting.
Yeah, probably. I'm sure he would, but if we're giving him that thought.
So my criteria for this, I had language, style, and purpose. And for language, uses a variety of sentences. Punctuation is mostly correct. And
I like that he started it with a question.
Mhm.
Speaks with a question.
yeah,
2.
I think the
Yeah.
style, the 5 elements of the letter, he's got him down, so that one check. His purpose, I would say that he's approaching, like you said.
Mhm.
It suggests some understanding, but it's kind of repetitive. It's like gangs are bad, gangs are bad, gangs are bad. Where's the solution? As
Yeah.
opposed to someone who meets criteria, they would clearly state their opinion and also offer a solution to the problem. And I see that in the missing here. So.
He does sort of ask a series of questions.
Right.
Why are you so bad?
Yeah.
Why can't you just go?
Why
do you
do
have
you
to
make
hit
the game? Why do you have to hit people?
And Dreamer is the girl?
Dreamer is the girl, yes. The next letter is to the girl. Dear Dreamer, hi Dreamer, I saw the book and it said that you helped your cousin Ramon. That was good, what you did. And you're a person that is making good choices. But not only for you, but for your cousin Ramon too. I like what you're doing. Do what you do best, make good choices. Sincerely, Shamara.
That last sentence, do what you do best. There's a nice closure there.
Mm.
It's smart how she notices that Clever's choices affect other people besides herself. Not just for you.
Right, that Dreamer was able to say, she got help. And she was helping Ramon to get out too.
We're making good choices.
You helped your cousin, that was good. And then down at the bottom when she said, I like what you're doing, keep making good choices. So she's making a statement about what she's doing, but then she's clarifying it in
Right.
some way, which I think is,
Right, even though she
Yeah.
doesn't
A higher
call her an ally or upstander, she's still identifying the actions that she's doing that
Thank you.
were positive.
Just picking up a little teacher talk there.
Yes.
I like what you're doing.
choices.
Yet, the only way it works though is if you've read the book or you were in the class
True.
discussions.
Yes.
What is her
Because there's not
language?
enough specificity
Yeah.
Right.
about exactly what it is. That seems to me that would be a next
Mhm.
step.
I was
This
just wondering what
is-
her level is.
Actually, both of these students are in the early advanced
Okay.
ELD group. So both of them, ELD-wise, they're at the same level, but she is, language-wise, she is a lot more advanced and a lot more sophisticated than the other students.
Yes, I think,
She loves to write.
I think guidance for her might be going toward being, as Angie said, more specific about how she helped Ramon. You know, someone who hadn't read the book was reading the letter. Would they know how she helped?
Right, like if you've never read the book before, would someone be able to read this and understand it? And then the repetitiveness that's in this letter, if she's at a higher level, I think that she should be able to kind of redo that and see that, make good choices.
It's
How can you
all
make
there
it tighter?
to set
Yes.
up.
Right.
She just needs to.
Right.
Although I guess,
But name the choice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Name the
Yeah.
choice that she made that was so
Yeah.
good.
Yes.
although, thinking about that again, if I'm putting myself in the shoes of this, or in the head of the writer of this letter, if I'm writing a friendly letter to Dreamer, then from my point
Yeah.
of view, Dreamer already knows what she did.
That's
So what we're then asking her to do is to step outside of that persona and write a school thing.
I
knowing
think,
her.
and at what point do you do this?
Yes,
Okay?
that's
At what point
that's
do you
the
do
tricky
this?
balancing
'Cause-
point.
Audience, but.
but not really.
Exactly.
Audience, but not really.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
This has an academic purpose. I mean, it's a funny.
Because I can see
That
my,
is
as
funny.
a third grader saying, well, I don't need to tell her what she did.
Yeah.
She knows what she
She
did.
knows.
Right.
She's in the story.
It's
Yeah,
a
they're
funny,
not really
it's a
writing
funny
Dreamer.
place where you
Yeah.
put kids in with audience, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
I think it goes back to some of our prior conversations though about making connections and making a
Yeah.
connection to yourself and then opening that up to other people and into the world. What does that mean? And I think those of us that have spoken already, we struggle with that, how to help kids do that in their writing.
Yeah. This would be a good opportunity to drive students back into the text.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a good
So
point.
show me where she did something good. Show me where she said something inspiring to Ramon.
Yes, and we have, yes. If Pam did that, no one did. Well, after this,
We were
because
ta-
this was a while back also, so
Yes,
we
I
had
see.
a lot of opportunities, yes.
Well, I was just gonna say that we talked about how sometimes being an upstander isn't always easy.
Mhm.
Well, Dreamer makes that completely
Oh, yes.
evident that it wasn't easy. Here she was looking out for her cousin, ends up getting shot, thankfully is okay, but still continues to say that same message, you know, that look, it's not the right life, it's dangerous,
Yeah.
so.
There's so much potential.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So this was actually kind of an introductory exercise. We did go back and look at, okay, give me examples, because first of all, in my class, good was kind of those words like nice. No.
Yes.
No, they need to be really clear. I'm proud. Okay, why? So a lot more, prove it, and the kids get tired of me saying, prove it, because then all the other kids join in. But then after this, I think this was around January, February, we do Black History Month, and we did a lot of talk about some upstanders there in that community. And we talked about different biographies, we read different little summaries of them, and okay, this is this person, we saw information about them. Then they had to choose a person, who they thought was an upstander, and then they had to do a research. They had to research that person, and then write the little paper about them. So this is much later. This is last February, end of February. So this person chose Abraham Lincoln, and they had to say why were they an upstander? And we talked about the characteristics of upstanders or an ally. So this person, he was an ally because he stopped slavery. He was brave because he gave freedom to slaves, and he didn't get caught, and he did a good thing that day.
One day.
Like Martin Luther King.
Yeah. A few times.
I love it.
And then if I could be an ally, and unfortunately this one got chopped off, but all of these are on, I'll display my wiki page. And then the kids made PowerPoints with their, so kind of introducing the technology part in there. And they, these are up so the parents can see them. But it's kind of a work in progress, because now that we've done this, then we're exploring, okay, now how can you be an upstander? What do you think? And we're doing the digital day thing where they have to think of
Very cool.
Yes. So some of them have already done that. They've found an image, and then they're either sticking with their upstander and thinking of a quote that has to do with them, or talking about them, or they're coming up with something else about what an upstander is. But it's building that vocabulary, which is so,
So they're doing the one slide?
yes, the one slide, yes. I had a few already working.
I will, you've probably gotten it in a flurry of way too many things. Yeah, it's a,
But that have to wait, because I have to learn how to do it.
hello.
I'm okay with PowerPoint. The Google one
I'm
slide.
gonna teach myself
Yeah, it
to.
was a brand new thing, so, but we have a few doing that too, so it's been, my kids have really been using that vocabulary. In social studies, they go to another teacher, because I teach science. So they go to social studies, and the teacher was like, yeah, you're one of my students there. She stood up and she said, well, if I were there, I would have told the pioneers that they couldn't let the Yokuts off their land. I would have been an upstander. You go, girl.
Oh,
Good for them.
So they're applying.
Fabulous.
Yes.
Now, do you want to send everybody a link to the wiki?
Yes.
Okay.
Certainly.
I got the fun of seeing a lot of these things getting posted as things are being developed. And even though I can't read Spanish, it was still great fun watching all of this develop.
And the kids love it. They'll go home and they'll tell their parents, because a lot of them, computers are brand new. Internet it's not as part of the culture as it is. So some of the parents would come to me, she's saying that something about his paper being on the computer, what's that? And I'm like, oh, let me show you. And it just buys that buyback of the parents too. It's really exciting. And then they discuss, oh, well, why did you do Abraham Lincoln? Well, tell your mom. And what is an ally? That's
Well, they're up there, Cesar Chavez has quite a few.
Ruby Bridges,
Ruby Bridges.
Martin Luther King,
Uh-huh.
and Barack Obama,
Mm.
and Abraham Lincoln.
And they look great in Spanish. I have no idea the quality of the Spanish. Have not one clue.
And that was kind of, a lot of them could have done it in English, but it was something that I wanted them to share with their families.
Absolutely.
So, and most of them did write in Spanish, but then they wrote them in English, like that one that I showed, except for my two newcomers. Everybody else had to translate their Spanish version into an English one. But then the PowerPoints, we don't get that much time with the computer lab, so it was just one.